You know, something really incredible happened in the car world in 2025. The whole electric vehicle revolution, it really hit its stride, but probably not in the way you're thinking.
So let's start with the big number. In 2025, more than a quarter, one out of every four new cars sold on the entire planet were electric. I mean, think about that. Just back in 2019, it was less than 3%. The momentum here is just, it's off the charts.
But the real story, the part that's truly fascinating, isn't just that it's happening, but where it's happening. Because if you're still thinking this is all about Europe and China, well, you're going to want to see this, because the script has been totally rewritten.
What we are seeing right now is a massive power shift. The old idea that EV growth would just kind of fizzle out once you got outside the usual auto industry strongholds, yeah, that idea is already history. And the speed of this is just wild. Look at this. In 2019, only four, had EV sales making up more than 10% of their market. Fast forward to 2025, and that number has exploded to 39. The race to go electric is now officially a global free-for-all. In this right here shows you the new world order. Countries in Southeast Asia have become this huge force. I mean, Vietnam and Singapore are posting EV sales shares around 40%. They are blowing past established markets like the UK and, get this, the entire European Union. And it is not stopping there. Look at Indonesia. Their EV market share just hit 15% this year. And in doing so, it pushed right past the United States for the very first time. Let that sink in for a second. These emerging markets, they aren't just playing catch-up anymore. They are actually starting to set the pace.
You know, Ewan Graham, an analyst over at the energy think tank Ember, he just nailed it with this quote. He said, "This is the turning point. The whole center of gravity for the industry has shifted. And it's because these countries see the massive upside. We're talking cleaner air, less dependency on imported oil, the whole shebang."
Okay, so how is this all playing out on the ground? Let's zoom in a bit and look at our first case study, the absolutely incredible story of Vietnam's EV boom. Just take a look at these sales numbers from July of 2025. The homegrown Vietnamese brand VinFast isn't just in the game, it's completely dominating it. They sold almost twice as many cars as Toyota and more than 4 times what Hyundai sold. This is a local champion leading a national electric charge. It's amazing. And this little car right here is doing a lot of the work. This is the VinFast VF5. It's consistently at the top of the sales charts, making up about a third of the brand's total sales. And you can see why, right? It's affordable, it's small enough for city driving, and it comes from a local brand people trust. This car is basically the engine of Vietnam's EV revolution. But not every emerging market is on the same super fast highway. Let's head over to another auto giant, Brazil, which is taking a much different and frankly more complicated road. All right, first, a real quick explainer so we're all on the same page. A BEV, that's a battery electric vehicle, it's pure electric. A hybrid, on the other hand, still has a gas engine tucked in there. And this difference is absolutely crucial for understanding what's going on in Brazil. So while places like Vietnam are going all in on those pure battery EVs, automakers in Brazil are playing a different game. They're focused on what are called flex fuel hybrids, and this has created what analysts are calling a significant gap, which basically means they're putting the brakes on a full-on transition to battery electric cars. So why the detour? Well, it really boils down to policy and what the big car companies are prioritizing. There aren't really any public policies pushing for pure EVs. In fact, the tax incentives actually make it better to build these flex fuel hybrids, which, lets car makers keep pushing models that still burn gasoline. And here is the real kicker, the huge missed opportunity. Brazil has one of the cleanest electrical grids anywhere in the world. So what that means is if they switched completely to pure EVs, they could slash their demand for fossil fuels by a jaw-dropping 90% compared to a regular car. It's this enormous potential win for the climate and for public health that's, for now anyway, just being left on the table. So let's pull back out to the big picture. What does all this mean for the future of the road? We've got 2 really different stories here, right? But both of them prove one thing. Emerging markets are the ones in the driver's seat now. So what's really driving this whole global power shift? Well, it looks like a few key things are happening all at once. You've got governments in many of these markets putting smart, supportive policies in place. They're also using things like tax cuts to encourage local companies to build cars, just like we saw with VinFast. And a huge piece of the puzzle is the explosion of Chinese EV exports heading to places like Brazil, Mexico, and Indonesia.
So the big takeaway here is pretty clear. The map of the global auto industry is literally being redrawn right in front of us. Those old power centers in Europe, the US, Japan, they're not the only game in town anymore. The future of the automobile is being decided in brand new arenas.
And that leaves us with one final, really interesting question to chew on. As this new map gets filled in, with all these different countries taking different roads at different speeds, who's going to come out on top? Who will be the new automotive superpowers of tomorrow? Because the race is definitely on, and the old guard, well, they no longer have a guaranteed spot on the podium.